I want to talk today about how you might respond to yourself when you notice yourself falling back into an old pattern. So this happened to me quite recently. I was on a group coaching call. I had to say some things that felt challenging, say no, set a boundary, stand up for my values. And in reflecting with a friend of mine afterwards, I was hearing the way that she likes to show up in these kind of experiences, which is much more like go with the flow, trusting I'm going to learn something from the experience. It is what it is. I just take what I need. And instantly I was like, oh, that's better. That's much better than the way I do things. I should be more like that. I should be more relaxed. I should be more or less uptight and less demanding. I'm too difficult. All the stories I was telling myself. And I didn't notice that I was doing this to myself in the moment. You're probably hearing now, it sounds pretty obvious. I was shooting all over myself, coming up with all sorts of stories about who I am. And I didn't realize until the following day where she came back to me, she responded to my message and basically said that she had been admiring me for my response, which hadn't even occurred to me. It hadn't occurred to me at all that she might look to me and see leadership or authenticity or integrity, some of the words that she used. And it was then I realized what I had done to myself the day before. So my nervous system being I was feeling quite vulnerable after this call. And essentially my inner critic had got hold of this idea and was like, see, you're wrong again. And what I'm really proud of in this moment was that I then didn't double down on that. I then didn't make myself wrong for catching myself, for observing myself back in a really familiar pattern. This is so common for me to make myself wrong, to assume that other people's way of doing things is the right way. And it seems to me that there's two ways that I can be with myself when I'm triggered, when I notice myself in old patterns. I can double down on those old patterns by being super perfectionistic about it, by brutalizing myself, beating myself up, shaming myself for not being perfect, for not having nailed it yet. Or I can meet myself with some grace. Yeah, I can recognize that I'm human, that I'm learning, that I have been practicing some of these ways of being for basically my whole life. And it's going to take a while to learn to do something different. And even as I learn to do something different, those old patterns will still be there somewhere. So really want to give you permission to make that choice next time you notice that you're in an old pattern that you thought you'd got out of, that you're back in the place that, like, wherever you go, there you are. How are you meeting yourself? Are you shaming yourself, beating yourself up instead of, in my world, stepping back into that same pattern? Or am I choosing to do something different? Am I choosing to meet myself with compassion, curiosity, maybe even some humor? Because for me, that's the thing that makes all the difference. When I meet myself with that grace, that's what allows me to move on. That's what allows me to really learn. Okay, what was it about this situation? Yeah, okay, I had to do something that felt difficult, and maybe my nervous system is a little activated. When I'm in those modes, I know that my perfectionism is much more likely to show up because it wants to keep me safe. It's like there's something going on. Quick fix needs us. Dons its like superhero cape, and there it is. I don't want to shame it for doing that. I don't want to shame myself for using patterns and tools that have worked for me in the past. I want to do something different. I want to be nice to myself. I want to learn so that maybe next time, maybe I can notice the pattern in the moment. Maybe I can choose to do something different at a time. Maybe I can care for myself more in the moment of expressing myself vulnerably, whatever it happens to be. So yeah, how do you meet yourself at those times when you realize you're back in an old pattern? Do you shame yourself? Or do you show up with grace? I'd love to hear your thoughts. So please feel free to share in the comments below, ask questions, and until next time, take care and stay curious.